Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. Week 5, best bets, the gold, the silver, the bronze. Remember to smash the like button to the episode, sub to Mayo Media Network, rate and review the audio podcast. And if you're in the market for some prop bets and you want to run the slate 10,000 times, create your own simulations, runthesims.com/Mayo for the weekly, monthly, or annual discount. You're going to get 10% off. You want to upgrade, you'll still get that 10% off. Has all of the tools that you'll need to, you're not necessarily going to win. You might put in the wrong inputs. But if you do want some math behind what you're doing and simulate everything out, it's a perfect spot to go. Runthesims.com/Mayo. Rob Pizzola, Cam Stewart on the line with me. Rob, you run simulations. You have your own proprietary model, don't you?
I do. I have a couple of them. There's some manual inputs I have to put into it to make it work. And that's what I love about football season is there's like a little bit of subjectivity as well. But I do come from a math background. Cam, back in the day when I used to work with him at the Score, used to call me the calculator, which hasn't stuck because I haven't heard that in 10 years. But
there's no calculators anymore, I don't think. Like, who has a calculator?
It's true. No one carries around a calculator. At that time, there was actually physical calculators. Now they don't really exist. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Was Rob just walking around with like a pocket protector, some pens, and a TI-83 in his hand?
I remember one time, Pat, I kind of snuck up on him. I was looking for like some food because Rob, I was really bad. That I'll admit, like if you got a lunch, I'll eat it. But I was kind of sneaking up on his desk and just looking for some scraps. And he's from Woodbridge, where there's very fine pastries. The Italians really know what they're doing. And I looked at his computer screen. And I'm looking at this dot 2.1. I'm like, what the hell are you doing there? Like, I thought he was breaking into something. He's like, this is my National Hockey League model there, Cameron. I'm like, what the model? How do you create this model? Where does it exist? Like, to me, Pat, you know what I mean? Models. Like, yeah, that's I'll look at them in the Sears catalog. But anyway, I had no idea what the hell this guy was doing, but he explained it all to me, and it seemed very fascinating. I wouldn't even know where to begin to run the Sims. Let's just put it that way.
I can tell you. You go to runthesims.com/Mayo, and listen, all the work is done for you. You just need to hit simulate.
I like that, Pat. No, you and Pat have always respected the fact. I remember when you worked at Fantasy, I'm like, and you taught me a lot. Like, I've been in a situation now where I got to fix problems. Like, you were editing your work and doing stuff before. I did it on a reel-to-reel and a razor blade and a chalk pencil, like I was doing blow. Like, you know what I mean? Now you were doing it on a computer. And it was very, very impressive. Like, yeah, that's the thing. I'm walking into Fanshawe College, Rob, with like a razor blade. I got this. I got tape. I got a grease pencil. I'm cutting reel to reel. So that's how I actually went to school. It tells me how old I am. But Pat, I got to give you respect, buddy. You were cutting and producing your own stuff before anybody. You don't need a damn producer. You do it yourself.
Well, fortunately, I have Megan. I got Paul Shag now.
You're big time now.
I'm here to big time everyone. That's how it works. But let's talk about last week. It was our worst week. However, we did okay. We went undefeated on the gold picks. Cam, you pushed with the Bills. Rob and I both won. Yep. That brings the gold record for the year to 10-1-1. Not bad. The rest of it, the Silvers did not go so well. We got swept off the board. 0-3. We're still 8-4 on our silver picks for the year. We went 2-1 on the bronze, 5-6-1. So we're almost back to 500 on the bronze, way above on the gold, and we're still 4 games over on the silver. So far, so good. We finally hit a roadblock and just didn't dominate the entire week, Rob.
Yeah, it happens. It's the NFL. Over time, listen, I would love to keep going at this win rate for the gold picks or for the overall picks, but let's be realistic here. A lot of these games are coin flips. Sometimes you just end up on the right side of the flip. Sometimes you just have some crazy stuff that happens and you end up losing a game. I'm not going to make excuses at all. Like, Kansas City killed Tampa Bay last week, but the Bucs fumbled the opening kickoff of the game. It was 7-0 within a minute of that game. Completely changes everything. So you just get random plays like that, and over time, hopefully we can get more of the luck on our end. But pretty happy with how the season's gone so far. I think we've done pretty well with the golds, and maybe we just need to stick to our own guns instead of, we try to talk through the silver and bronze sometimes. I don't know if that necessarily has been working in our favor.
Well, I mean, we were 8-1 on silver picks before last week, so
Yeah, seriously. Like, so put the brakes on there, Pizzola. Like, everyone's got a system too. Like, if we entered our team in the super contest, we'd be getting paid. Like you said it, Pat, right? Was it 10-1-1 or whatever? That's that's in the top tier category. Sometimes it's good to talk through your picks, but the thing is, you have to have the mindset of a person that's not going to like rattle you, upset you, and you got to stick to your guns. Like a lot of the time, like I notice with my team, I take a lot of weird stuff and you just got to be firm with it. I love it. You got to listen to people's criticism if they don't like a game, but the bottom line is if you like it, you're going to take it. Right. But I don't mind feedback if you guys think it sucks, but my thing is I got to stick to it sometimes and not waver.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Every time we try to talk you out of a pick,
it wins.
You
and
win.
Then I go with the one that loses. Exactly.
That's the point I was making is oftentimes you have a strong feel for what you actually want to pick, but then we run through like 4 or 5 of them. And myself and Pat often, will sometimes disagree with your quote unquote, like ugly pick, and you settle on something else. And I think you need to be more forceful, Cam, and just like stick with your gut.
I will. This week I'm going to be more determined and I'm just going to stick with it. Okay. You get it? Let's rock.
Let's get to the gold picks. Reminder to everyone to play in the PME DraftKings Listeners League. Still 1,000 spots available. It'll be filled by Friday mornings. If you want your spot, go get it right now. 3 max entry, $15 to play. No rake, thus making it the best tournament on DraftKings. Link is down in the description right now. This is the first week all year. We got to week 5 where I got to look at the betting board, look at every single game, and there wasn't one game where it was like, oh, that's the one. I've had that every single week so far for my gold pick, and it's been working out. You're like, that line is wrong. I'm going to bet it. And I feel this way about one game, but I'm still kind of nervous about putting my faith back into it. They were one of my picks last week. It worked out. They won outright. But I will be selecting, Cameron, your Seattle Seahawks plus 5.5 at New Orleans. So here's the deal. New Orleans stinks. And am I the only one who sees this? Maybe not.
Stinks is a little strong.
What do they do well?
I don't know. I think I'm going to say this. I think Andy Dalton ran the offense better than Jameis Winston, who was hurt. Their defense has been a little bit overrated. I think they're going to be a better team with Kamara in the lineup, and he comes this week. I'm just going to play devil's advocate. They're underachieving.
He may not.
They're underachieving.
It looks like they might be out Jameis, Kamara, and Thomas again. Kamara's practicing on a limited basis. He did that all last week, too, and then didn't play. I feel like this is some sort of perception from before the year started about how good New Orleans is. Like they were the sleeper pick. Oh, could they challenge Tampa in the South? Oh, they're like minus 150 to make the playoffs this year. Like they lost to Carolina. They should have lost to Atlanta. Like, they're just not any good.
What do you think, Rob?
I have no strong feel on this game. I agree with that. I think New Orleans is probably, I don't want to say that they're overrated in market because I think people are starting to get down on them overall, but definitely the defense this year is not what we expected going into the year, especially the defensive line. They just don't generate a pass rush. The problem that I have with backing Seattle is now we have 2 instances of them playing very bad defenses, which are Detroit and Atlanta, and their offense looking good. And then 2 instances of them playing very good defenses, Denver and San Fran, their offense looking horrible. And where does New Orleans fall? Probably somewhere in the middle of that. So I don't really know. I do think that the Seahawks defense is so bad that it doesn't matter who the Saints put out on the field, that they'll probably be able to move the ball and score. I've not had a strong feel for this game the entire week. I wish I could provide something additional here. New Orleans coming off the London game. I don't know if that's going to be an impact because typically in the past you would see teams take a bye after the London game. Now we have Minnesota and New Orleans actually playing this week. It's rarely happened in the history of the NFL. I don't know if that's an impactful thing this week or not, but I don't know. I don't like the game. Like I won't bet this game this week. And if you asked me to, I would probably take Seattle, but I would be extremely not confident in that.
I don't even mind Seattle on the money line in this one. Obviously, I much prefer the 5.5.
Listen to this guy. That's how you do it. Pizzola, nice and bold, and Pat's coming in guns a-blazing. I'll tell you one thing about Seattle. They can score. Getting rid of Russell Wilson seemed like the right move. That's the thing. They weren't going to win with Russell Wilson anyway, so you might as well have Geno Smith and try to rebuild. Their offense has been
Great.
Surprisingly good.
Great. Their offense has been
I would say
great
actually,
this year.
I will say, great with a capital G. Their defense, as Rob said, is absolutely horrible. It's like Swiss cheese. Anybody can do anything. Like all they had to do was like they basically, Detroit said we're throwing to Hawkinson, and they couldn't, like, you know what I mean? They actually showed Seattle the game plan, and Seattle's defense is that bad, Pat. That's what I worry about. I worry about the Saints winning 38-27 or something like that. They might blow them right out of the water.
Yeah, but I just
That's
don't.
all.
So I agree with you. I think there's going to be a ton of points in this game because I can see that Seattle can't stop anyone. But I just don't believe in the New Orleans offense. Like, especially if they're going to be out. If it is going to be Dalton again, it's going to be a lot of check down stuff, a lot of like trying to run the ball with Mark Ingram, or if Kamara, if he's back. And listen, Kamara could have a huge game here. It's just I don't think that the Saints, they can potentially slow down the Seahawks, but per DVOA right now, this is the second best offense in football. They're very efficient. They don't make a ton of mistakes. And for whatever reason, all of these years, you couldn't let Russ cook, Rob, but Geno can cook.
Yes, but I will say this: the DVO, every metric for Seattle's offense is so heavily skewed by the Detroit game. Like if you strip out the Detroit game, they become a bottom 10 offense in the league in terms of efficiency. Now, granted, again, they would have played San Fran and Denver in that span. Those are harder defenses, but the Lions game is skewing everything for the Seahawks offense overall. Like they basically scored on a scripted play against the Denver offense and defense in week 1, and then a scripted drive. And then after that, they couldn't really get anything going. The San Fran game was an abomination in terms of offensive ability. I will say this about what I noticed particularly with Dalton. Obviously, I'm a Cowboys fan. I've seen Andy Dalton play for my team. It seems like he held up much better in this offense last week. It's one game, but his average depth of target last week was the second highest in the entire league. So he actually was throwing downfield against the Vikings defense. I think Chris Olave really stretches the field for the Saints and kind of helps them have that downfield threat. I don't know. I don't know what to make of either of these teams. I think there's an extremely large range on what either of these teams could be, but I don't mind Dalton in this offense, particularly in this game, because Seattle just doesn't pressure the quarterback all that well either.
Rob, can I ask you guys a question non-related to football? I know, Pat, we can like, why are men wearing stirrup pants? Like, what's the deal with pants with elastics at the bottom and no socks? Like, I honest to God, this style, it drives me nuts, Pat. Like when you're watching the PGA Tour, I'm watching like Good Morning Football here. It's like, what's the deal? Like, have you ever Rob, you like jogging pants with elastics and shoes? Like, is this going to be going on forever? Like, everyone heard of like regular shorts or regular pants? Anyway, I hate that style. It pisses me off.
I am quite literally wearing stirrup pants right now.
Good. Yeah, but you're also in your house. I'm in my underwear right now, so it doesn't matter. I'm talking about on TV and in public.
Okay.
Very
Very different.
You don't do it. I like Patty. Just regular stuff. Just come on, man. Stop wearing elastics on jogging pants with rolled up pants and stuff. Go buy capris then. Is it shorts? Is it pants? Give me a break.
I don't mind it, honestly. I don't mind the changing
sucks.
looks. Like
it sucks.
So what I love is the Andrew Whitworth on the Amazon Prime feeds on Thursday Night Football does the full hoodie with the blazer over it.
That's horrible.
I love that look. Okay. I think it's like a casual but classy type of thing.
Disagree. I like your flower shirt, but you're never going to swing my opinion ever.
You're very traditional in what should be on a TV
I'm not
broadcast.
traditional. I'd rather see you, Rob, like wear like metal T-shirts and pants and stuff. Like I don't even care if you wear like those guys used to in the old days with a damn chain holding your wallet. Like I don't even care. Like this stuff is out of control. I'm so sick and tired of watching Eric Van Ruin on the PGA Tour, Pat, with those pants. It pisses me off.
So you prefer he just wear you just prefer he wear
slacks.
Rafael Nadal pants, those capris.
Just pants. Why would you instead of the elastic bands all the time? Elastic bands are for underwear. They're not for slacks. Anyway, enough. Like I'm just this style needs to go. Anyway, and I have no style, so I'm just saying I don't know what it is about it. It just bothers me. It just really bothers me.
I just wanted to push back a little bit, Rob. And yes, the depth of target for Andy Dalton was pretty big in the London game, but I think there's two factors to consider here. One, they were down the entire second half and had to throw, and a lot of those throws came on the final two drives, and they still they were a 50-50 run-pass split. Like Dalton only put it back 28 times, and most of those came on the final two drives.
I listen. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. We have a pretty large sample size of what Dalton is at this point. The only thing that it's surprised, like last week, surprised me because Dalton was played a little bit more differently than I would have traditionally, expected since he's become a backup in the league. I'm not rushing to lay 6 points with Dalton. Like that seems like not a great bet, but also I think Seattle is still really bad, and they beat up on a Detroit team that has absolutely no defense and was missing all of their offensive weapons. And that's changed our perception of Seattle over the course of the week.
Listen, I'm not saying that Seattle's some great team. I really don't think that. This is more of a bet against New Orleans, who I don't think is very good.
I get it, and I can stand by that. I don't think the Saints are very good either.
Do you have a gold pick, or are you abstaining from gold picks this week, Rob?
No, I could do I could retire undefeated, right? Do the Mr. Perfect walkout, spit out the gum and everything like that. Pat on the back, Barry Horowitz style for sure. I like the Ravens as my gold pick this week. DraftKings -3, -115. Maybe I'm influenced a little bit too much by actually watching Cincinnati in person last week. But I do think the Bengals may have still lost that game if Tua did not get concussed. Was not impressed with the Bengals whatsoever. A lot of people who like Cincinnati this week are pointing to the games they played against Baltimore last year, where they just destroyed the Ravens. Joe Burrow had 941 yards in 2 games against the Ravens last year. That was a very different Ravens team. Like they had so many injuries in the secondary last season that they had no chance of slowing down the Bengals. On top of that, they had Wink Martindale as their defensive coordinator, who is the most blitz-happy defensive coordinator in the league, which is exactly what Joe Burrow beats. The Ravens are blitzing a lot less this year. They're not going to have to be as aggressive against Joe Burrow. Seems like on the offense, they're getting Ronnie Stanley back at left tackle, which is absolutely huge for them. And one thing I will say is this Bengals defense, I think, is completely overrated right now, just by the virtue of them having played Mitch Trubisky, Cooper Rush, Joe Flacco, and pretty much, 2/3 of a game against Teddy Bridgewater last week. They have not faced a quality quarterback yet. And Lamar Jackson, to me, is just a different breed. So I don't agree with this number. I am very down on Cincinnati. I'd love to watch them just keep pounding Joe Mixon up the middle for 1 yard at a time, like they seem to do on every first down or second and long. I think the Ravens are going to take them to the woodshed on Sunday Night Football.
This is Jeff's top pick of the week as well, Mr. Feinberg from The Spread Show, where I highly suggest that you check that out this week. Cust had a meltdown. It's The Spread Show. Of course that's going to happen. But this is on my short list for probably bronze pick as well. I really like the Ravens this week on Sunday Night Football too. So,
I lean Bengals.
Any reason why?
No, not really. Just to Rob, I'm like kind of like an old fossil. I'm looking at the old games and stuff. I think the Ravens are overrated, and I think Harbaugh's an idiot personally. But that's just just my opinion.
I go the other way. I think Harbaugh.
I don't want to talk about this.
Harbaugh's
again, we're not going into analytics or whatever about that decision with the field goal and stuff. We're not having this conversation.
I don't care about the analytics stuff. I just feel like
Okay.
Harbaugh is the best coach in football at grinding out the minor edges wherever it may be. Like, when was the last time you saw the Ravens with bad special teams? It doesn't.
They
happen.
lose in the fourth quarter every time, Pat. That to me, I don't care. I honestly, this team cannot win a fourth quarter game. I'm looking at things from a reality perspective. Find decisions late in games that help your team. He is not winning those games. It's not just on the coach, it's on the players, but it's a team effort. Anyway, there's a lot of things I like about Harbaugh, but lately I think it's kind of like the guy's like, the hamster's off the wheel a bit. That's just my opinion, though. That's just my opinion.
All right, well, what are you taking for a gold pick? Let's get back on track here.
Okay. I know there's a lot of anger today. I don't understand why I'm so fired up. It's just ridiculous. I like you guys too. Washington.
It's probably because you're wearing a shirt. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, it's a good point. I didn't mean to take off my shirt last week. That's probably a very bad decision. Give me the Washington Commanders.
The Commandos. All right.
Yeah. This is insane. Yeah, I might as well go. Commanders.
Commies.
Cams. Yeah, the commies. I'll take the commies plus 2.5. You know what, Pat? I've taken this team against the Eagles in a letdown spot, but this is the week I really feel that they will show up. I know I really can't back this up. The Washington Commanders aren't a great team. I just don't think Tennessee should be favored by 2.5 on the road. Watching that Indianapolis game last week, Indianapolis killed themselves. Rob, you and Patrick can go into your databases and tell me, what the story is. But I'm going to tell you this. This is the week for the Commanders, and I really think they show up and win this game outright. I'm going to take the 2.5, and I think the line kind of tells you something too. The books I feel like it's a kind of a bait line with Tennessee. I don't think they're as good as people think. I just think the Colts played a really bad game, and they tried to come back in that game and ran out of time. This is the week for the Commanders. I think they put it all together and win by 4.
I like Washington here too. I saw the same thing you did, just watching that.
Thank you.
Tennessee was my best bet last week against Indy, but it's almost like my new strategy this year for the gold picks is just bet against teams that I think that are no good and are just laying huge points. And I don't think New Orleans is good. Indianapolis, at least through 4 weeks, is the worst team in football, Rob.
I don't agree with that.
They're horrible.
I don't think they're the worst team in football, but
the Bears cannot make a forward pass.
Yeah, well, that's fine. They're just trying to win the Super Bowl in 1922. That's fine.
Yes, there's no way. There's Indianapolis stinks, but there's so many worse teams than Indianapolis.
Yeah, but here's the thing about Chicago. Chicago is not trying to pass the ball forward. They're just trying to grind it out on the ground the entire time. The Colts only have one play. It's Matt Ryan actively trying to give the ball to the other team.
Yes, Matt Ryan has a fumble problem, big time.
Matt Ryan's got a lot of problems, and I feel bad for him. You know what? We all get older. We all get high cholesterol. Some get diabetes. It's time for him to leave football. And it's actually, Patrick, I'm going to say this. It's hard, guys. Rob, when we worked at the Score, remember him at Boston College? It's just time. Father Time waits for no one. That's the whole thing. And he's just watching him getting pounded and making bad decisions time after time. I don't think there's any, his brain has been affected by it. It's just, he's not the same man. We all get older. It sucks. He's got to retire. I don't like seeing him get hit anymore, Pat. It's actually hard to watch the Colts play football because Matt Ryan looks like he's confused out there a lot.
Yeah, it's something new for him, like learning an entirely new system, different locker room, all of that. Some guys just don't adjust to that very well, especially when you play in the same place for 13 years. And this team just isn't up to snuff. We thought it's a lot like the perception of going into the year. We thought that they were going to be better. I was down on them, but I didn't think they'd be this bad. But they truly are this bad. But the Colts have historically been bad in September under Frank Reich, Rob.
Yes, for me, it's the Colts O-line. I didn't think the Colts were going to have one of the best offensive lines in the league, but Ryan is facing so much pressure.
It's true.
And he's not the quarterback that can just hang in there. He's a statue, right? I've seen him try to rush the ball a couple times this year and roll out of the pocket. It's hard to watch, right? He's not that guy. So if you make him, sit back there and throw the ball behind a bad O-line, bad things are going to happen, but at least they can complete a downfield pass. The Bears, they honestly, it's horrendous. Watching that, and there's worse. I would bet Indianapolis on neutral against Seattle. I would bet Indianapolis
for sure
against Houston. I'd bet them against a lot of these other teams. The Giants, I'd take Indianapolis against the Giants. So the Colts are, they're not what we thought they were, but I'd pump the brakes on them being the worst team around.
No, he's just saying they're bad.
No. I am calling them the worst team in football. I threw them up. After watching all the games and watching all the teams, they've been the worst. They had to stage an epic comeback just to tie Houston, who's also terrible.
They are pretty bad, yeah.
Their only play on offense that works is throw to the guys that are 7 feet tall. That's it.
I mean, I don't disagree that the Colts are below average right now. I would not agree.
Things can change.
The lower echelon in terms of horrible teams. I could be wrong by that.
Awful right now.
Yeah,
I kind of like them Thursday night. Am I crazy?
No, I love Denver. Love Denver on Thursday night.
See, Pat, this is the thing, though. I can't listen to you guys anymore, even though we're friends. Remember, I got to stick to my guns. I had the same talk with Morency. Everyone Denver. I know what? I just, Rob, I don't know how you feel. I think Indianapolis shows up on Thursday night. It's just
I like the Colts on Thursday.
Thank you.
If you're getting 3.5, Denver averages 16.5 points a game on offense. They have to win by 4 to cover a spread. I mean, I don't think that's a good bet.
We're allowed to disagree. No, I'm with you. I think the Colts could lose the game by 1, maybe even win by 3. I'm with you, Pizzola. We're reading each other's mail this week.
The loss of
your database.
No, Randy Gregory is huge for Denver. It's huge.
Yeah,
he's such an impactful player.
Denver could lose half their defense, and it would still shut down this terrible Colts offense.
Possibly. Even though Jonathan Taylor is out, I think the Colts are going to have a lot of success running the ball on the Denver defensive front this week.
All right. I bet the -3 when it was -3. Although at DraftKings you can get -3 or -3.5 at +105 right now. So I assume that means it's leaning back towards 3. Is that how that works, Rob?
I think it's going to go. I honestly don't think it's going to come off. Like, it'll just juggle back and forth.
It'll be
I think
3.5, I think. I think not many people like Indianapolis, Pat. That's just my opinion. Or it'll be 3 heavy juice, like -3, -125.
Yeah, see, I actually saw it the other way. Most of the people I've talked to are betting the Colts in this game because there's like, oh, Denver's no good. Like, at least Denver plays good defense. The Colts don't do anything.
No, I think this game is a train wreck anyway. It makes me sick.
The one thing I would be extremely concerned about with Denver is having so this is like a historical. I'm not a trends guy. People are going to call me out being a trends guy.
But this one works for you, so it's applicable, right?
I think there's something. I think there's something to it. Like, it's not like, you know, this team when there's a full moon or dating back to 1979. But if we look at recency since Thursday Night Football started, rookie head coaches on Thursday Night Football have a horrible track record against the spread. Part of that is having to prep their team on a short week, which they're not accustomed to doing. And like, I'm not sold on Nathaniel Hackett whatsoever.
Oh, he's horrible.
Putting together a game plan on a short week. He can't even put a game plan together in a long week. So I don't know what's going to happen in 3 days.
Well, wouldn't you say that actually works to their benefit if he can't do it in 7 days?
Less time to think.
Yeah, he also can't do it in 3 days. Nothing changes.
I think it just gets worse.
Pat, I'm like a politician. When trends work for me, I love them. When they don't, who cares?
Of course.
Rob, let's go to you for a silver selection.
Okay, I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers laying 9.5 against the Falcons.
I'm with you on this. My mighty Falcons.
Yeah.
They're going to murder them, right?
The Bucs are now fully healthy, pretty much. Like, when you consider all the pieces that they've had missing, all these games against the Cowboys, the Saints, the Packers, where they could not score, I think that's in the past. The game against the Chiefs, fine. I mean, the Chiefs are the Chiefs when they play like that. Who's going to beat the Chiefs when they play like that? And they can just basically move the ball on every possession. With this healthy team, I don't see how the Falcons defense is going to stop them. Falcons have played 4 games this season. They have forced 3 quarterback hurries all year, 3 in the entire season. Brady's going to sit behind this offensive line. He's going to pick apart this defense. And what we're starting to see is actually the Falcons offense is not as good as we gave them credit for earlier on in the year as well. They're passing the ball way less. Mariota has like 20 pass attempts in the last 2 weeks. They're just, for whatever reason, whatever was working for them in the early few games of the year, it's not working for them now. The Bucs defense.
I would disagree. I would push back on that. Like, we can look at last week, 7 completed passes for Mariota. He wasn't very good, but they were running the ball for 9 yards a carry. They were just like, let's do this every time. And they did, and they won.
Fair enough.
They won.
That was a Browns defensive front that was minus 3 of their 4 starters on the defensive line.
Okay, but eventually we have to get to the point. They did the same thing to New Orleans, who still has a good rush defense per the numbers in week 1. They were like, we're just going to throw these different looks at you, and we will effectively run the ball.
Yep, and the most effective rushing teams in terms of EPA on an annual basis, there's absolutely no correlation with success in the NFL.
Yeah, but you're not. But you're not picking Atlanta to win this game. They need to cover 9.5 in this game.
Sure. And I mean, listen, the reality is they've played one game where they were a big underdog. First of all, the Rams were bigger favorites against Atlanta. So the Tampa Bay is being priced as worse than the Rams against the Atlanta Falcons. Secondly, that game was a complete farce in terms of the final score. Like, the Rams destroyed the Falcons in that game.
And still should have lost. And Atlanta should have won that game.
Blocks a punt for a touchdown in the 4th quarter. Falcons run around. They take the safety at the end of the game. That was an extremely lopsided performance. Rams had 56% success rate on offense in that game. The Falcons had 44. I just think that there's a sizable discrepancy between these two teams. Last thing I would point out is that, I think the Falcons are a hot commodity in market, generally speaking.
They're 4-0 ATS, right?
They've covered every spread, right? People don't really want to bet against them. I think this is like the sell high point on Atlanta, personally.
I'm with you. I like the Bucs this week, minus 9.5 as well. Agree. And it is because of how the market is now starting to perceive Atlanta. I still think Atlanta's pretty good. Like, they're kind of like Seattle. You know, you can bet Seattle 15-1 to make the playoffs in the NFC.
They're not making the playoffs, Pat.
Who's going to make the playoffs in the NFC? One shitty team is going to make the playoffs. I thought it before the year.
It won't be Seattle.
I thought before the year it would be Atlanta. and Atlanta's firmly in the mix. I mean, if they win this game, they're winning their division. But if Seattle can beat New Orleans this week, they're 3-2 against these other jabroni teams. Like, the Giants aren't making the playoffs. That's not happening. They're terrible. So you go like, what? Let's pencil in the Vikings, although we probably shouldn't. You go Green Bay, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Philly and Dallas, San Francisco.
Philly,
then there's one
Dallas.
Other team. And I don't think the Rams are that good.
I agree with that statement.
So
I don't think Seattle makes the playoffs.
I
15-1's a great number, though.
Yeah, I don't think that they make the playoffs at 15-1. That's probably one of the better ones you can find out there for make the playoffs.
What's your database saying there, Gigabyte?
I actually think when Pat first said it, I was like, no. And now as I'm looking at the NFC standings, I'm like 15-1, I think is a good bet on Seattle to make the play. Like there is no clear-cut seventh team in the NFC. If you think that the Rams are not as good as they were last year, then there's no clear-cut seventh team. And I personally, I think there's enough reason to be concerned about the Rams overall.
You want to talk about a one-dimensional team? Sorry to interrupt, Rob. They're the Rams. Well, okay, we'll throw to Cooper Kupp. That offensive line, they got real problems, man. The Rams have problems.
Yeah, they run
Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee. Higbee gets 14 targets a game too.
Yeah,
yes,
that's a good call.
Yeah, they run the pass it to Will offense. It's like watching one of these mid-major teams who's a 16 seed in the NCAA.
I don't think Matt Stafford's going to finish the season, guys. I got a really bad feeling. I don't wish I remember once I said Zion Williamson. I needed a bet for Virginia Cavaliers when they won the national championship, and his shoe exploded, and they think I had some kind of dark voodoo magic, which I do not have, but. Watching this guy play, it's not a good scenario. Like this guy, I think he's more banged up than people think too. I think the Rams have major problems.
Yeah, so the door is open for one of these crappy teams, and that's assuming that Dallas and Minnesota can keep it together. And Minnesota although they're 3-1, every week they appear to be falling apart at the seams, and they could be 0-4 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
the NFC
it's wide open. That last spot is wide. I can see Seattle, the Giants are 3-1. Who cares? The Giants are going to fall off a cliff at some point, right? They have to. I mean, I don't know that they have to, but they're just not very good. The rest of these teams are all maybe the Lions would be sneak in for the 7 if they can turn it around, but their defense is so bad. I think there's legitimately a concern about every single team in the NFC that you wouldn't pencil in to the playoffs right now. And the Seahawks also have that. A similar concern, but 15-1. I mean, that's a super long shot flyer price. I think that's a solid bet.
Yep, that's all I was saying as it pertains to Seattle.
No, it makes sense.
They might go 2-15, but here we
exactly.
are in today's day and age. But I like Tampa Bay -9.5. Cam, what is your silver pick?
Oh God, okay.
Do you want me to go first? I have.
No, I'm fine. I got to stick to it. Be strong here. Got to be strong. Give me the Carolina Panthers +6.5 against the San Francisco 49ers.
I love this. I love it too.
I love the 49ers against the Rams. It was one of my biggest plays of the year. And I think this is a extreme letdown spot for San Francisco, taking these guys lightly. You guys like databases, and I'll look at things. We actually kind of get to the same place in different ways. I'm looking at stock. And Carolina's stock has never been worse with Baker Mayfield and the fans and everything else. It's a perfect time to jump on them. This is what we do. This is the National Football League. Give me those damn cats. By the way, if you bet every team that is a feline this week, I think you make money. I will start with Carolina as a silver. I wish I got 7. I'll take the damn 6.5.
Well, that's one of the reasons.
Let's go.
Rob, I brought this up a few times this week. That this just reeks of that Colts-Chiefs game from 2 weeks ago. Why hasn't this spread gone to 7 yet this week? I don't understand.
You like Carolina, Rob?
Who the hell is betting? Besides Cam and I, apparently, who the hell is betting on Carolina?
Yeah, I think, honestly, it would be San Fran or nothing. I'm not going to bet the game, but I think Carolina is one of these toxic teams that, I especially think Matt Rule is on the chopping block. I'm not sure that team's going to get up.
Is he the worst coach? He is the worst coach in the National Football League, right?
He's the worst coach, and he has one of the worst OCs in Ben McAdoo. And I would typically agree with everything you guys are saying. Carolina, low point in market. San Fran, high point, coming off of a primetime win. They looked really, really good, but I cannot do every year. There's that team that I think you just have to cross off and say, no, I'm done with them until they actually show me something. The Panthers, to me, are that team. I don't know how Carolina is going to score. Carolina cannot move the ball, period, against anyone. They have one of the worst O-lines in the league against one of the best D-lines in the league right now. Now, granted, they don't have to technically, it's San Fran that has to cover this spread, and San Fran's offense is not super great either so far this year. We've seen a lot of time, like they only scored 17 offensive points against the Rams. The week before, they only scored 10. Sure, but I just think it's a lopsided X's and O's matchup. I think it is one of those games where the 49ers can show up and be like asleep offensively and still win the game like 16
I know what? I think they're going to be asleep, Rob, and squeak out a win. Like it's going to be a desperation Robbie Gould field goal at the end because they took Carolina lightly, and I'll take the cover. That's why I'm betting. That's why I'm getting 6.5 points. I'm not laying any, but see what happens, Pat. It's hard. You guys, I make these picks. And Rob's a very good defense attorney. That's the thing. I got these voices in my head. I'm got to stick to it, Pat. And I'm glad you're on the Cats with me.
Oh, there is
I respect your opinion.
There is nothing logical about taking the Panthers this week. Nothing. There is nothing that points to them covering the spread. But that's the reason.
The way I roll.
That's the reason to take it, right?
Yep. Thank you.
I'm with you.
They just remind. So, like, obviously, listen. I'm not betting this game. I'm not picking a side in this game. So they just remind me of like a few years ago, where I was in the same boat with the Jaguars early on in the season, where it's like, oh, the Jaguars stock, and then it just kept getting lower and low. Even Urban Meyer last year, right? It's like, oh, the Jaguars are as bad as it gets, but like now's the time to jump on. No, it gets worse and worse. The Cleveland Browns did this several years ago as well when they were rolling through all these Deshaun Kaiser and whoever else they were rolling through. And it's like, oh, like Cleveland they're getting unlucky. They're going to get better. And I just feel the same way about Carolina. Like,
remember Hogan?
I remember Hogan. I remember Hogan. They went through so many different garbage quarterbacks, but yeah, I mean, that's what I feel about Carolina. Like, I don't know how Carolina's offense is so bad. Maybe their defense scores for them in this game. Well, and they keep it close.
So there are two things. There's two ways that they cover here. And Cam, if you're gonna bet Carolina, I would say, and listen, this might cost you the plus 6.5, but parlay that with the under, because I don't think this game hits an over and Carolina covers the spread.
I think the scores like San Francisco wins like 17-14, 17-16.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it's going to be a dirty, ugly game.
Yeah, if this game hits the over, San Francisco covers the spread. That's the way that I would kind of think about it. If you're going to bet one side, I mean, you probably don't want to correlate the minus 6.5 with the over because San Francisco just might win 24-0.
I'm glad you're on my side, Pat. I feel good about that because usually when I take these crazy things, I'm kind of on my own island, and I just think it's an inflated number. You know what? Beating the Rams like that was a very emotional Monday night game, and these guys are still human beings, right? Like, we're all not robots. They leak blood, not oil, and I think they're going to take Carolina very lightly in this spot. I just think San Francisco walks into this game cocky, and they shouldn't be, and Carolina gets us to cover.
Yeah, this is going to require not necessarily a defensive touchdown, but like a special teams turnover, something deep in their own end to like generate 2 field goals or something like that. And like the biggest mismatch on paper is you have the 31st offense against the number 1 defense. That's not good. But to kind of flip it over, like as Rob mentioned, San Francisco's defense isn't very good. Carolina still has a top 3rd defense currently in the NFL, and they have top 10 special teams, and the special teams for the 49ers have been really bad. Like, those are the little edges in these stupid games that end up. It was just like that Colts game. Like, how did the Colts beat the Chiefs? Because the Chiefs muffed a punt on the 1-yard line to start the game. It's like stupid shit like that's going to happen, and I could see this being one of those games. It's this game, or it's the stupid Chicago-Minnesota game.
Possibly. I mean, I think Cam already touched on one with his gold as well, with what, like, nobody wants to go near Washington. I think that could be like Tennessee is maybe overrated, but there are a lot of these games this week where there's a bad, toxic team against another team that we envision and market as good. Carolina, like San Fran, Carolina, go bet an exact final score of San Francisco 6, Carolina 0.
Yeah, and I win by the hook.
There you go.
Yeah, listen, no one's been more against the Ponzi scheme Panthers than I have. But
I love it. 6-0.
I'll jump off the Falcons this week, jump off the Panthers, and then I'll reverse course again starting next week. My silver pick, I was kind of a toss-up between what I wanted as my silver, what I wanted as my gold. I like these 2 plays. These are my 2 favorite plays. I've seen a lot of sharp people this week. Rob, you're a sharp. Do you like the Cardinals as much as everyone else does? Because I don't. The Eagles are just the really good version of the Cardinals.
I do not like the Cardinals at all, period. The Cardinals have not done anything offensively unless they've been in garbage time this year. That's it.
That's my
offensively speak.
That is my one problem with this one. Philly -5.5.
This game's got a wide back door open, baby.
Yeah, but
That's
the Cardinals stink. Don't forget that.
Yeah, no. I lean Cardinals, and I am definitely the opposite of sharp. I'm about as dull as you get. I still get my knives sharpened by the guy with the jingly bells. But I'm telling you, Pat, this game's got backdoor cover written all over it.
See,
it's a dangerous game.
You would think that, but this is one of the fun things about having Cliff Kingsbury as a coach that you bet against. Is listen, it'll be 9 points, or it'll be like 11 points or something like that. And like the Cardinals are on like the 1 yard line, 4th down. It's like, oh, if they get a touchdown here, maybe they can get the 2 and figure it out. And he's like, no. Let's kick the field goal now. We'll wait on the touchdown later. He's stupid enough to do that.
He is. For me, the Arizona's bad football team. You're not going to get me to bet them this week. They have some sort of weird thing going on as well, dating under Cliff Kingsbury, where they actually stink at home and they're fine on the road. I don't know what it is.
And in the first half, Rob, the thing is, and you guys are smart people, the first part of the game is scripted, and we talk about this. So for all the people that think Kingsbury is some kind of genius, it's like basically they do nothing, then they have to come back, and Kyler Murray says, "Wow, these plays suck, so I'm just going to run around and improvise." That's the Cardinals in a nutshell.
So maybe,
am I right?
So I like Philly. So maybe the bet is Philly -3.5 first half.
I don't know, Pat. You got to do your thing. I don't want to be the guy that changes you if you like it for the game. I just think the back door is open, but that's just my opinion.
Listen, I agree with you. The back door is open with the way that Kyler plays. I just think that who's stopping the Eagles in this game? Not Arizona.
The only thing I will say about the Eagles matchup on offense against the Cardinals defense. The Cardinals defense is better now than it was early in the year. So they're pretty much, I don't want to say at complete health. They still have Antonio Hamilton out, but this is their defense for the most part at this point. The Eagles did have a couple offensive line injuries last week, and guys that are trending towards not playing this week. Their left tackle, Jordan Mailata, their right guard, Isaac Suomalo. We have not seen last time we saw Jalen Hurts behind a injured offensive line was last year. He played fine, but it wasn't near the level of what he's playing at this year. So I do think that there is a opportunity for Arizona's defense to at least limit the Eagles' output. I don't think the Eagles are going to go in here and score 10 points or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But Arizona does generate a pass rush. If you're missing 2 O-linemen against a team that generates a pass rush, it can be a little bit more challenging. So that's my concern. You would not get me to bet Arizona in this game. I do not see them as quote unquote the sharp side, as I think people are going to talk themselves into Arizona, but the offense is just way too offensively challenged right now.
Why are you wasting your time betting sports, Rob? You should have been a lawyer. You're a perfect defense attorney. You just, honest to God, it's a compliment actually. You play, Pat, does anybody play the role of devil's advocate better than Rob Pizzola? He's bringing a lot of stuff to the table.
We're doing a show here. This is supposed to be
it's fantastic. I'm just saying, Rob, when I'm in trouble, I wish I could hire you as a lawyer, but you're betting on sports. But anyway, that's a story for another day.
I'm not a school guy. I actually dropped out of school to work with you, Cam. So that shows you how much.
And I dropped out of school to go down to the river to fish out Titleist golf balls and sell them back to golfers for $1 an hour and smoke weed and drink beers on top of a school roof. It worked out for me.
That's it.
And I'm cutting documentaries with a razor blade and reel-to-reels and tape.
Do you want me to hang my degrees up behind me and make you feel bad?
I couldn't care less about your degrees or struggling, Patrick. Who cares about degrees? I took my fan shot diploma. I use as kindling. Who cares? I don't even care. I don't even know where my diploma is. I think it's literally I don't even know where it is. It might be a doormat somewhere. I don't even have it.
Dr. Tim Andercust has a great degree, and the guy couldn't pick a winner to save his life. So
is he a real doctor?
Hey,
he's a real doctor. Yes,
but yeah, can he take out the golf ball I had, my hernia? Is he a surgeon? Is he a mental doctor? What is he? No. He's a doctor of 2-for-1 combos at fast food establishments. I can tell you that.
But he's trying to abstain from that right now.
No, what?
With Monopoly going on, he's abstaining.
Yeah.
You know what?
No,
Pat, I'm willing to be a guinea pig. Tim can be my doctor. Tell him to bring the scalpel and get this thing out of my stomach.
I mean, all you have to do is just say hey, you're gonna die, Cam, and then you'll be reverse cursed and you'll have the healthiest life of all time.
Excellent. Can you please do that? Tell him to relay me the message, please.
He is a
doctor. You guys are really talking a lot about McDonald's. I see this you were using a Monopoly thing as a basically you're lighting it on fire, Pat. Your little tabs there. It was funny. I enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, no, okay, yeah. Cuss is he wants credit from people for abstaining from McDonald's monopoly because he spent over $1,000 on it last year. But it's not like he's not doing it because he's eating healthier. He's just like going to Wendy's instead of McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that doesn't change anything. You might as well get the little tabs and at least try to win something if you're still going to go to another fast food joint.
Or just eat them, or just eat them because you're going to die of fast food if you keep on eating burgers every day. But anyway, who am I to talk about health?
Well, he was throwing out a lot of the food last year, though, as well as we talked about.
I see that now. I have a real problem with that. I never throw out food. Like at a Scottish home, Pizzola, you throw out food. You might as well you're getting the wooden spoon. You don't throw out food. You eat food. Okay.
Watt is going to be back this week, right, Rob?
Yes, it seems that he is. We're talking JJ Watt, correct?
JJ Watt, correct.
Yeah, as far as I think Arizona on defense is missing Antonio Hamilton and Rashard Lawrence, who's one of their defensive linemen.
So currently, although the pressure has somewhat been there, they have the worst adjusted sack rate in football, 3.1% sack rate. And I don't think it's going to, even with a diminished offensive line, I still think Hurts can just get away from them. And their rushing defense has been better than their passing defense. I just don't feel like that applies against Philly. Philly's going to run on you. I don't care how good your defense is.
I agree. I mean, I think Philly will have a run-heavy game plan this week just because of the offensive line issues, and they just don't want to sit Jalen Hurts back there a whole lot. I'm just I don't like Arizona at all. There's nothing that I like about the team. I don't like the coaching. I think offensively, I watch these guys. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, you get the Kyler Murray scramble play where he runs around for 29 seconds and scores a 2-point conversion, and everyone's like, oh, amazing or whatever. But they're so inconsistent. They can't put like a steady drive together. Anything can change in the NFL. Maybe we're talking about, an Eagles letdown next week. It is a like somewhat bad spot for them. They're playing the Cowboys next week as well. So anyone who does look into like the look ahead or, scheduling components, I think most of that is overblown, but maybe there's something there where it's just, they overlook this team and are looking ahead to Dallas next week. I guess that's possible. If I was going to make an argument for Arizona, which it's very hard for me to do.
I think that's more of an argument to make against Dallas this week than against Philadelphia. If that's what you wanted to put into it,
yeah, I agree with that.
Like Dallas needs to win next week. That they might. It's not that they're not going to overlook the Rams. The Rams are a good team, but it feels like this might be. We talked about like buying high, buying low. Like I don't know if I'm going to make the Rams my bronze pick, but. Like you're buying Rams at bottom of market in Dallas, essentially at not the top of their market.
I like the Rams too, Pat.
I like the Rams.
I think everyone's going to be on Dallas this week. I think the Rams. I don't think they're a great football team, but I think they cover this week.
Yeah, and it's up to 5.5 now. That was down to 4.5. But bronze picks, Cam, you want to give us some options here? Or do you have one solid one?
Nah, I'm not going to listen anymore. I got to be a better man and not go get into peer pressure. You guys are getting me into trouble. I got enough problems in my life. Give me the Cleveland Browns.
2.5. 2.5.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I got it. It's 2.5. It's not 3. I'll take. If I want to buy it on my own, I'll get a 3. I'll get 2.5. 2.5. Give me the Browns.
Don't buy the point.
Don't buy the point.
I don't want to have this discussion. I don't want to have this discussion right now either. But we'll talk about it one day. You'll talk to me about give me the list about buying a half point, and you will teach me how to run a database. But I will take the Cleveland Browns. Plus 2.5 in this football game. I don't believe in the Chargers. Houston even came back against these guys. There's a lot of other games, Pat. I do like the Rams as a bronze selection, but I'm going to stick to my guns with Cleveland at 2.5. I think that game against Atlanta was a farce. I didn't like what I saw at the end of that football game. I don't know what it is, Rob, and I know we've had a disagreement before. I will say one thing about Stefanski. I think he does good things. I don't understand what happens to this guy in the fourth quarter, though. He's almost like he gets the jitters and the shakes, and I hope the game's not too close back then. But I think Cleveland will do enough and have a game plan to beat the Chargers in this spot. Big game for Cleveland at home. Give me the Browns plus 2.5.
I like the Chargers, but I'm not super sold on it either.
Well, I don't know what else to take. I could take the Rams, and what other game did I like? There was another one, but I'm going to stick to the Browns because I don't want to switch my opinion anymore.
Okay, Rob, bronze pick.
Bronze pick for me. By the way, I don't mind that pick in terms of the Browns either, but it's like one-way action. Everyone that I've seen in the Sharp community, so people that I interact with frequently, like the Chargers in this game. So I'm on a lonely island with the Browns as well. But if Myles Garrett is back, it's Myles Garrett against a rookie left tackle. Remember, Rashawn Slater got hurt for the Chargers a few weeks ago. On top of that, what's been the problem for the Chargers going like forever now? They cannot defend the run. Teams just run all over them. And if there's one team that can successfully put together drives by running the ball, it's Cleveland. The issue is this happened last week for the Browns against the Falcons, right? Like you got to score in the red zone.
And
you can't have Jacoby Brissett throw the ball away on 4th and goal. You know, you can't throw it over the back of the end zone. It doesn't make any sense.
The Browns can't stop anyone at this point. Their defense is like bottom 5 in the league so far. And that was even with Garrett when he was there. Now that he was out, he's probably not going to be 100% even if he plays this week. I just don't see how they stop the Chargers.
So I think Joe Woods is a bad defensive coordinator personally. It's something new with the Browns every year. So last year, they had the best early down defense in the NFL. First and second down, best defense. Third down, could not get off the field. This year, it's later in games, exactly like Cam described. Their defensive numbers are completely skewed by what they've allowed in the fourth quarter. Now, the Chargers are like a team that can put up yards in the fourth quarter, so that would be concerning. But overall, you know, I don't know about LA. Like LA caught Houston last week. I think Houston's really bad. Makes the Chargers look a lot better than they are.
Houston came back against them too, guys. Remember they were killing them? That game got interesting. Like the Chargers barely covered with a late touchdown. Just saying.
Yep. Agreed. I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins -3.5. I'm not going to buy to 3.
Wow.
I'm going to take the Dolphins.
I know a lot of guys who like the Jets this week, Pizzola. I like that you're on your own island there.
I like Miami.
So like the Jets are, in my mind, the Jets are an 0-4 team. Like that's how I view them. They beat Cleveland. That game was literally over. The game was over if Nick Chubb just did not score a touchdown. If he just, did what people should be coached to do, that game is done. They beat the Steelers this last Sunday. I don't actually even know how the Jets won the game. They were down the majority of the game, 20-10 going into the fourth. Zach Wilson put together some nice drives, fine. He showed up on the injury report this week. I think he's probably going to play. But regardless, I just think that there's a huge discrepancy between these two teams. Like the Jets stink. Miami's actually good. And sure, you get Teddy, but Teddy's the type of guy that he's a downgrade from Tua. I don't like the people who's like, oh, it's Tua and Teddy. It's the same thing. It's not. But he can move the ball. I mean, he's consistently done this over the course of his career when he comes in as a backup. You look at last week when he had a clean pocket, he was 10 of 13 for 150 yards last week with a clean pocket. The Jets don't generate a whole lot of pressure. So I like the matchup for Miami's offense. The big thing for me here is the Jets are down their top 4 tackles. If you go to the beginning of the year and look at their depth chart overall, they're missing Dwayne Brown, who went on IR. They're missing George Fant, Mekhi Becton, and now Max Mitchell, the right tackle, got hurt last week. They're playing with a 5th and 6th string left tackle and right tackle this week. And I know the Dolphins don't have the best pass rush in the world, but the Dolphins actually put some pressure on Burrow last week. If they face a bad O-line, they can get home. And the one thing I know about Zach Wilson is that guy under pressure, he's going to melt. He's going to turn the ball over. So I think it's a short price. I mean, honestly, I think there's a huge discrepancy between these two teams. Also in coaching, I do love what McDaniel's done with that offense overall. So I'm going to lay it with Miami.
So I have it narrowed down to 5 selections that I like this week. The only one that I bet is the Broncos it's -3.5 at DraftKings Sportsbook. I have selected it at -3, but I would bet the -3.5 anyway. The Bills -14 feels like
love it.
Feels like stealing. They should be like -29. Like the Pittsburgh is awful. Like truly bad, even with Kenny Pickett.
I think the Bills are going to win this game. I think something like 37-10. I think they kill them.
Yeah, and what
do you think, Rob?
Probably no Minkah Fitzpatrick for the Steelers either.
Yeah, it's not just Minkah Fitzpatrick. Like half the Steelers secondary is hurt this week as well. Could not take Pittsburgh, but I don't like betting against unknowns. And I think Pickett could be good. So that's my only thing, but I could not bet Pittsburgh this week.
So Chargers were on the short list. Ravens were on the short list, but that conflicts with some of your guys' picks. Not that I can't do that, but I won't do that. Although, Rob, you and I tried to double up last week with Denver. That did not work out for us. That got us 2 losses right away. Don't want to have the same thing happen with the Ravens. The other one I was giving strong consideration to were Jags -7. Feels like
the Jags.
This should be higher, but they got beat down because of 5 turnovers and crappy conditions against the league's best team last week. And if they still almost covered it by the time it came to the end. They were up 14-0 in that game. I just feel like what they do well is the perfect matchup for what the Texans don't do well. Like they're just really going to exploit them in almost every way in this game.
I don't have an opinion on the game. I make the spread 7 personally, so not something I'm going to bet. I have no idea what the Jags actually are, just as of now, and I think this game is going to vastly. I know it's just against a lowly team like Houston, but it is going to affect my opinion of Jacksonville going forwards, because so far, if you look at the Jags season, they lost to Washington, which I mean is very hard to do. They lost to Washington in week 1. They beat Indy and they beat the Chargers. Both of those teams were dealing with a ton of injuries in those games, or at least injuries at key positions. And then against Philadelphia, they blew a 14-0 lead and they basically got smoked the rest of the way. So I don't know what the Jags are. I don't like Houston at all. I think Davis Mills is bad, consistently bad. I don't know. It's tough, but this to me is will impact how I view Jacksonville going forwards.
All right. Well, I will settle on Buffalo -14 as my bronze selection of the week.
Yes, Pat. Love it.
I really hope this isn't a situation like week 1 last year with the Steelers where they got wildly outplayed yet somehow beat Buffalo.
Thing is, too, they revenge angle. Buffalo's played one home game, and they basically played like junk in the first half against Tennessee, and we saw Malik Willis come in the game. They murdered them.
Yep.
And I don't know what Pittsburgh's going to do. A bunch of drunks going through tables, lighting each other on fire. Their second home game of the year with a rookie quarterback coming in there. I can tell you one thing. I saw Peyton Manning in his rookie year in Buffalo, and he got absolutely torqued. It's a tough crowd. It's a bad spot. Pat, I think they win this game by 27, 28 points. I'm with you. I think
that's actually a really good point. If you go back to Buffalo last year and look at their defense against the rookies that they faced. So they faced Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson twice, Mac Jones 3 times, Davis Mills. Those teams averaged just over 12 points a game. It's very difficult to score on the Bills defense with a rookie quarterback against Sean McDermott. McDermott's a great head coach. So I lean with you guys. I just don't like laying huge spreads in the NFL.
It's a big spread.
Yeah, it's not Pittsburgh. Never Pittsburgh for me here.
All right.
Excellent.
Any final thoughts? Do you have some more plays you like to throw out there, Cam? I know you like that. You really
no. I think
Bears +7, Giants +8.
No, I don't know. None. Maybe I think the Lions show up this week, but I don't want to get into it too much.
Yeah, I
told you. I like felines this week. A lot of cats this week. I think you do well.
I wish it was a little bit more, but I mean, this is where I would prefer the Lions. I don't like the goof outside. That's not good. But Lions as an underdog just seems like a play every week. If they're ever favored, just bet against them.
What's the goof, Pat? Who's a goof?
He plays quarterback for the Detroit Lions. The goof.
Jared Goof. I like the goof. I think he's serviceable.
Keep him indoors.
Yes, yeah, Goof. I don't know. He played a pretty good playoff game in the cold weather in Green Bay. But anyway, I have a different opinion of the Goof than everybody else. I think he's okay.
I think he's okay
Not
too.
great.
Just I don't like this. Yeah. I don't like it like rainy, cold in New England in October. That doesn't sound like the.
Well, who started for New England? Zappy. He's not going to be as good.
No. But the thing is, can they just? The only worry I have about this game, I think the Lions do win. I'm with you on that. It's just if the Patriots can turn around and hand the ball off 65 times, can Detroit stop them?
I think they. I don't know. You're right. I don't know what you guys throw it in your database. I just think this is the week Detroit shows up, and asking New England to win by more than a field goal, I think, is a stretch this week. I think the Lions win the game outright.
Cam Stewart, where can everyone find you all week?
Hopefully in bed. But anyway, I'm at Sports Grid Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern to 9. We do a lot of betting. If you like betting, if you're a degenerate gambler, trust me, we got so many picks, it'll blow your mind. On Sundays, I'm on the Fan 590. Pat, back in the terrestrial radio game, Rob. So I know you guys are busy there, 10 to 1 o'clock doing Inside the Lines on the Fan 590 radio across Canada. It was nice to be back in that hemisphere. Feels great.
Did you say you were inside doing lines all Sunday morning? That can't be healthy.
Well, you got to stay up for the games.
I inside the lines. Yeah, not cutting lines or doing lines. Inside the lines. It's across the country. If you're in different cities across the country, Pat, I think I'm not sure if it's in Halifax, but give it a shot.
I shall tune in.
If you say it's cross country, And,
I know it's
and
in
you're not
Vancouver,
sure-
Calgary, like all like it's in a lot of cities.
Yeah,
That's all
Rob.
I'm gonna say.
Rob. Usually, when people in Canada refer to across the country, they just assume the country stops at Montreal. You have to remember.
Yeah,
that.
they just forget about Eastern Canada.
Not me,
I
Pat.
get it.
I like it out east. I'm just not sure if you get it.
Oh, I'm with you.
I
I'm with you. I will try to tune in. I haven't used the radio in 10 years.
You're a
I will
busy
try
guy.
to tune in.
You don't have to lie to me. I still love you guys. It's okay.
Hey,
It's
I drive
fine.
I drive to the gym and to my office on Sunday morning. I'm driving. I can turn on the radio.
I like that. You got a family, but I understand. If you can give it a shot for a couple minutes, we'll have some fun, Pat. All good.
Well, you can catch the three of us on thehammer.bet doing our Survivor picks, where we're 3 losses in 4 weeks, I think, in Survivor. So that's
Excellent.
That's the show you want to tune into. You want to know a favorite that's going to lose? Listen to who we pick in Survivor this week over on thehammer.bet. Until then, smash the like, sub to the channel. I'm Pat Mayo, and I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!